Good. Yeah. Good morning. I am Mark Hamilton. I am the chair of the Fitchburg Bike Committee, and I welcome you to the August 2nd meeting of the Fitchburg Bicycle Committee. I'm going to call this meeting to order, and we will start off by doing a roll call. Phil Groupie.
I'm here.
Phil. Lisa Heitman, a guest today.
Good morning.
Miranda Beyer. Miranda's name's up there. I don't see her. She may not be on yet. Andy Potts.
I'm here.
Logan Brown.
Good morning.
Is that everybody, George? Okay. Okay, we've done the roll call. We've called the meeting to order. We will do the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion on the minutes from the last meeting of June 7th?
This is Andy. I'd make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
I heard a second. And,
That was me, Miranda.
oh, thank you, Miranda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are passed. Before we go into item number 3, I want to also welcome our alder on the bike committee, Joe Maldonado. Joe, welcome to the meeting.
Thanks, guys. I'm just biking in, so I'll be on the computer shortly.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
I'm
Next,
in
we're
the same
going
boat
to
as
go.
Joe, actually.
I'm sorry, Andy. Go ahead.
I'm in the same boat as Joe. I'll be on my computer shortly too.
Okay. In a minute, then we'll come back to those when you appear. Are there any public appearances for non-agenda items? I've been told no. So we will move on. We will move right into the first agenda, which is I'm going to ask Phil to formally present it to the group. Resolution 5 R5822, authorizing the Fitchburg Greenway system, and we have Steve Arnold, who has registered to speak on the resolution as well. But before we have him speak, I'd like Phil to give a little update on this.
Sure thing. I'll do the best summary I can. I believe, just for the record, it's R15822 is the resolution. So this is the brief overview is that Steve worked to secure a grant that will provide some funding for a pilot. We've heard about the Greenway system that Steve has been looking to implement throughout Fitchburg. This grant that he secured would provide funding for signage to create signage essentially at one corner, one intersection in Fitchburg to kind of test out some Greenway signage and essentially test this out in a real world situation, see how it works, see how people like it. This resolution would simply approve that pilot project. It doesn't necessarily commit the city to anything beyond that, but of course the hope would be that if this goes well and if funding allows that we would end up having the full Greenway system throughout Fitchburg. Steve, how to do?
Oh, I'm sorry. So we will now turn. Thank you, Phil. We'll turn to Steve Arnold, who is registered to speak in support of the matter and answer questions. So, Steve, the floor is yours.
Phil did well. Again, when our $10,000 grant to do all of the fish hatchery corridor failed, the AARP Wisconsin representative urged me to apply for their monthly so-called small dollar big impact grant. So I repitched it as a demonstration installation to show residents and elected officials what the signage would look like. It's a $1,000 grant. We have through September to implement it and to make a report to ARP. And I spoken to our new transportation engineer about it. We'll be in the field probably this week or next to plan exactly where each sign will go. We have some tentative things in the packet, tentative locations for the 3 kinds of signs that will be there. Identification signs for the path, decision signs as you approach the 2 intersections, and confirmation signs with distances as you leave those intersections saying that you're on the Fish Hatchery Greenway and that the library, the senior center, and, for example, City Hall are some certain number of miles away. So that's the goal. We are targeting the intersections of the Fish Hatchery Path and Traceway Drive, and there should be sufficient funds also to do the Post Road intersection. So I'm here mostly, this is the project you've already seen. I'm here mostly to answer questions about the pilot.
And Steve, I just have a question. You got approval for the money to buy the signs. Will the city put these signs in, or is there?
Yeah.
And is that as part of the money being put together to get this going?
Yeah, as you can see in the resolution, there's no budget impact. The streets maintenance crew will install the signs as part of their regular duties. So it's not that it's no cost, but it's no budget impact.
Okay, thank you. Other questions from members of our committee about this project? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion on the resolution.
So move.
That come from Joe? I'm not sure who that came from. Who moved?
I did, Joe.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Andy.
Thank you, Andy. Any further discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Bill,
Thank
Steve,
you.
the resolution is passed. Thank you. Angie, I'd like to welcome you to the meeting as well. Good to see you down there.
Yeah, sorry I'm
Mark?
late. I had trouble logging in. It kept saying my link was invalid.
Okay.
Mark, just quick point of order here. I don't. This may be improper ordering. Because we have our guests here right now, is it too late to amend the agenda to move item D up right now?
No, that's okay by me. I think we can. We're going to get to our other agenda items, so it's fine by me. So then we will, per Phil's request, we will next move to item 4D with our guests from the Fitchburg Police Department, and we will give you two the floor. So, Lisa and Logan, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, everybody. I'll start first just by a quick introduction, and then I'll turn it over to Logan and he can do a quick introduction, and then we'll discuss some very exciting work that's being done here at the police department on our bike patrol. So first, my name is Lisa Heitman. I'm the patrol lieutenant. I'm new to the role. It'll be 6 months in just a couple days. I've been with Fitchburg PD only since 2017. Worked primarily patrol, night shift and second shift patrol. Now the patrol lieutenant. And one of the things I was really excited to start working on was reinvigorating our bike patrol as well as our neighborhood officer program. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Officer Brown, and he can give a quick intro to himself and the neighborhood officer position.
Good morning, everybody. So like Lisa alluded to, my name is Logan Brown. I've been with the City of Fitchburg Police Department for about 3.5 years now. I recently took a new position as our city's first neighborhood officer in a while. And then with that position, I also hopped aboard our bike patrol team, which is being reinvigorated, which we'll get prepared to talk about here in a few minutes. So we're excited to be here. I look forward to continuing to attend these meetings to see what's going on with biking around Fitchburg as the police department implements their program again.
Thank you, Logan. So again, I know this is the bicycle committee meeting, but I just wanted to spend just a moment to talk about our neighborhood officer program, because I see our neighborhood officer program and our bike patrol just being so interlocked. So again, we've just recently restarted our neighborhood officer program. If you're familiar with Madison PD or some larger agencies that have neighborhood officers, we're following a similar model. However, due to our smaller agency size, Madison, for example, a neighborhood officer would focus on a particular, very small neighborhood, maybe with just a couple streets. We have to focus a little bit bigger as far as a geographic area. But again, a neighborhood officer, their intent is to enhance public safety through outreach, education, and crime prevention. So again, we have Officer Logan Brown. He has started first. He's already been working a couple weeks in his role. He's focusing on the east side of the city, including the future Fitchburg areas, the town of Madison, that we'll be taking on in just a couple weeks, really. And then Officer Jeremy Saffold, if you know Officer Saffold, he'll be coming on as a neighborhood officer in the fall, and he'll be focusing on the west part of the city. And as far as east and west, if you generally look at Fish Hatchery Road, that's how we're dividing east and west for our neighborhood officers generally. I mean, they'll work together often and kind of cover a lot of the city. So that's a little bit about the neighborhood officer position, but part of that, like I said, is their work with the bike patrol unit that we've reinvigorated. So we've had a bike patrol unit in different kind of, whether it's been, a large patrol or just one or two officers that maybe occasionally, get the bikes out. I looked back, 2012, I think we had quite a few members. That maybe was our strongest year in history, so 2012. And now recently we said, let's recommit and let's rebuild our bike patrol. So just the second week of July-ish, we sent 3 officers through it's called the International Police Mountain Bike Association course. That's a 5-day course. It's pretty intense. I did not go through it, but Officer Brown did, and then 2 other officers went through that course as well. So you essentially learn how to do your patrol duties on a bicycle. You also learn some bicycle maintenance, some first aid, and some specialized skills like riding up and down stairs. And again, you're in, your police gear. And so it's a difficult course. Logan Brown certainly excelled. He can share more about it. He was the top rider coming out of the course. So again, we do have bicycles right now. They are from the late 1990s. So these are, 20-year-old bicycles that our officers are riding right now. Really only 2 are serviceable-ish. But again, they're old, and we are looking forward to purchasing or to acquiring new bicycles very soon. And so we're looking at different ways on how we can do that. But we definitely identify a need for new bicycles. Our vision is to expand the team. So we're looking at, 5 to 7 years down the road, having up to 10 trained bike patrol members with bicycles. We're looking at both, your standard traditional bicycle, and then we are looking at e-bikes. We see that brings just a whole kind of new layer to our bike patrol. Logan, since you are certainly the subject matter expert with all things bike, I'll turn it over to you, just if there's anything that I missed that you'd like the committee to know.
Thank you. No, Lisa did a really good job kind of summarizing everything that we're hoping to do. Before going to the IPIMBA class, I wasn't your traditional everyday bike rider, and now I find myself at work every single opportunity that I get to go out and get on the bike, I'm on the bike. I think it's a great way to traditionally for police officers, the police car is our biggest barrier to interacting with the community. And so when we have the opportunity to ride a bike, and it's easier for people to come up to you and contact you, and you can have that interaction, that's really valuable to our police department. So like Lisa said, there's a lot of thought being put into e-bikes for the police department. One of those reasons is it's really easy to just hop on the bike and ride from the police department, and to not only be able to respond to calls and not be winded or physically exerted when you get there, but to be able to cover more of the city and interact with more people on a daily basis. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We haven't made a determination on which route we want to go, so if anybody has any input, we're always open to hear that. And we thank you guys for having us at the meeting today, and look forward to working with you guys.
Are there questions of our guests about this program? Yes, Tony Hartman.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for getting me linked up. Thanks to Scott. Logan, congrats on being number one. I don't know if that means you went up or down the stairs faster, but hopefully you caught whoever you were supposed to be apprehending. Was Mike Burry? Did he go with you, or he's already gone through the course, I believe, right?
Yeah, so Mike went through the course. I guess I don't know what year, but it was some time ago. It's kind of funny. The instructor at the beginning of the course played a video that he had made of previous courses, and a couple of us were able to pick Mike out. He was in that video, so it was fun to see him ride a bike way back when. And I guess I'm a little humble in nature. A lot of times, Lisa did say that I was awarded the best rider in the course. The way that happened is, like I said, I'm traditionally not your everyday bike rider. I hadn't rode a bike since I was a kid, and so I didn't really know how this course was going to go. By the end of the course, I was designated to be in the top rider. And it's interesting, when you learn to ride a bike as a child, you kind of get on and just go fast in a straight line. And biking as a police officer is so much different because you're doing so much slow speed stuff, maneuvering around tight corners and stuff. And so it's really kind of the opposite of how you were initially trained to ride a bike, so to speak.
Well, I'm with Bike Fitchburg, and I appreciate the invite, Mark, to ask. I've been a big advocate of rebooting, your program, and I think it's because I saw Mike, and I don't know if it was you, Lisa. I think it was one of the female officers riding up on their 26-inch bikes a few years ago, and I was like, oh no, this can't stand. So we would like to help with that effort. I've talked with the bike shops around here and several bike reps. We have a couple of people from Trek on our board, and various manufacturers have programs to get police, 29-inch bikes. I don't know if that's what you learned at the program, Logan. Are you seeing anything new, or we were going to help you raise money? Can you guys come up with a number? Because I'm not sure I know what that is to get one bike and then get it outfitted. I don't know how much of the old gear that's on the shorter bikes can transfer onto the big ones. Do you guys know yet what the costs look like?
Yeah, so we're always open to looking for collaborative partnerships to get this program off the ground and running again. At the bike course, everybody there, to the best of my recollection, other than Fitchburg, was riding Trek bikes. All of those bikes were different models. UW Police Department, who put on the course, they had the Trek Service Electric version 2 bike, which our officers rode and tended to really like that. I think it says something also to have a bike made by Trek that's local. We're not stuck in that rabbit hole, so to speak. We're certainly willing to look at other brands and see what's going to fit Fitchburg and our officers best. As far as the old gear from the other bikes, some of it's usable, but I guess when you look at the newer technology, there's going to be different tubes and stuff that we're going to need. We probably need to get new tire levers, new tools and stuff like that. So we have some brief cost analysis written down. We have a kind of a proposal document put together that's specific to a couple of Trek bikes that we identified that we think would be good. Just to throw out some loose numbers, when it comes to a non-electric bike, we are tossing around the idea of having one that's not a service bike, so to speak, and just having like a Marlin 6 or a Marlin 8. That would suit our purposes. It probably wouldn't be your everyday rider, but would certainly have its use within the police department. For something like that, we're looking at like $1,200 to $1,300 with the gear, including bags, lights, water bottle cages, so on and so forth. When it comes to the service electric bike, those are obviously going to be a little bit more expensive, and we're looking closer to the $5,000 range to get one of those and have it outfitted.
Great. I appreciate it. It's good to have a number. And are you thinking right now e-bikes are the way to go? I'm curious. Obviously, B-Cycle went all in on e-bikes, and they're pretty heavy when the battery's not operational, but or not when it's empty. But are you thinking that's the best bet?
Yeah, we think so. And personally, my experience from the bike course is that there's always a time and a place for your traditional mechanical pedal bike, and I think it's still important to have those and have them, especially to send people to the IPIMBA course to go through it on, and then to follow up the IPIMBA course with an in-service with the electric bike so you can understand the differences in how they ride and how they handle. The electric bikes for us are really just to cover more of the city, to make sure that our officers are able to see more people, get more places, and I mean all the other benefits that if they would have to respond to a call and help their partner, they're not completely physically exerted when they get there and unable to complete whatever it is that they would have to do on that call for service. So I think having a mix of both would be good, right? So if in a couple of years we're looking for 10 officers, if we could have 5 electric bikes and 5 standard bikes, that would be great. And the electric bikes, I think, will help us with things like if we ever had to do follow up an Ironman race, or we have Derby Burby every year that we partake in. It's easier for us to get on the course for those kind of closed course events to monitor stuff and really partake better than we could in a car or on foot.
So
Great,
Logan,
Mike, thanks for that.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Tony. Tony, I'm sorry, I cut
Oh,
you off.
I was
Go
just
ahead.
going to say thank you for taking the time and getting out and doing it. And we look forward to having you over at Bike Fitchburg at one of our meetings too. Be great to
I
do
would
that.
add 2 comments. Let the bike committee know what we can do to help you as this comes forward, because I too think it's a great idea. I personally saw the police trek bikes in the Brewers parking lot where they were patrolling after a baseball game. And the gentleman was nice enough to say, one, if you guys want to give him a call and talk to him about the program, feel free to, because he was pretty proud of the features on his electric trek bike, his siren and stuff and lights. And second of all, I think there's we've seen a lot of grants out here for things, and maybe Phil or the city could help you guys look for where there may be some grant money available. Steve Arnold also knows where some of this money's out there that could help seed this into the next generation. But I too think it's a great idea, and when you need the committee to give you support, please let us know. We've got an alder on our committee who's now down there on the right-hand side of the screen, but I think as we get ready to have Joe help us, we've got to have a plan. So if you can give us your plan, it'd be great to help you take this forward. I'm speaking for myself, not as the chair, so I'll let other members of the committee weigh in on this too. So.
I'm speaking for myself too, but I think this is absolutely fantastic. I actually remember when Fitchburg had the bike committee or the bike officers years ago, and I just think it's an absolutely wonderful thing that you're getting this going again.
Yeah, I'll add that there's an event today at the Leopold Park in the city of Madison, which I was invited to, where they're doing Lift Leopold, and they're kind of talking about the bike track. So I'm going to take the bike over there today to kind of try to help get our name out and say that we're out here again. So any events that come up like that our bike team can get to will be at the Agora Art Fair. We're really wanting to get out and practice what we learned, so to speak, be in the community, make connections with people. And then I was reviewing the meeting minutes, and I was talking to Officer Bear at UWPD, and they do the Bright at Night program too. So the police department would really, I think, be interested in partaking in something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Other comments from the committee?
Logan, I'll just invite you to the Pick Me Up at the Border ride, which is the solstice weekend, or I should say the equinox weekend. It's like the 23rd of September. The police used to be at the intersections, but now we start at the Hop House and race day events. But it would be fun to have you ride out with us, at least as far as Purcell Road, since that's your official patrol territory.
Certainly, thank you for that.
Steve has his hand up. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, with respect to the event this evening, Bike Fitchburg will be leading a community ride at 6 p.m. from the Leopold Park. We will be going down Fish Hatchery and back to the park via the Cap City and Cannonball, about 5 miles in about a half hour. So it would be terrific if officers would be available for that. The community ride is in Fitchburg, even though it's starting in Madison.
Thank you, Steve. And one more tidbit I will add to all of this is that as we strive to become a gold city that you're going to hear about again later on in the meeting, I think reinstituting something like this will be a feather in our cap. And Lisa, we will be looking for you or perhaps Logan to join our work group as we get ready to come together in the fall. It's not going to be a lot of time, but I think support from our law enforcement folks. And then lastly, on this same topic, I want to thank you on behalf of the Boys and Girls Club for the Fitchburg Police Department helping us out with the ride. Several weeks ago, we raised $750,000. So it was a success, but we thank you for every year you've been there to cover the intersections for us, and thank you for that. So is there anything else you folks would like to add from the police side of this, or that the committee wants to add on this topic?
I think I've said everything that I'd like to share today, so I'll just reiterate thanks for having us, and we look forward to working with you guys in the future.
Yeah, you're welcome. Lisa, anything from your end?
No, nothing else. I do feel terrible that I didn't mention Sergeant Burry. So Sergeant Burry is still, if you know Sergeant Burry, Mike Burry, he's still very much a member of the bike patrol. He is the leader as the sergeant. So he couldn't be here today, but yeah, you may see him and his name, or he'll want to be involved as well.
Our group does know Mike. He has been involved in past things, so thank you.
Lisa, thanks for National Night Out. I think you and Logan and others are working on that, and that's coming up next week, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yep,
Yeah,
Tuesday the 9th.
Yep, Tuesday, August 9th, 5 to 8 p.m. McKee Farms Park. Bike Fitchburg will be there. We'll have one of our bike officers there to do the bike rodeo, amongst many, many other things. So tell your neighbors, let everybody know to come out and see us, and we look forward to seeing all of you there if you can make it.
It's on our agenda, so as we back up, we'll make sure it's officially announced for the minutes and the project. Okay, well, in keeping with the spirit of moving the meeting along, then, I thank you folks one last time. I'm going to back up to item 4B on the agenda, which is bicycling related events in and around Fitchburg. And Phil Gruppe, you have the floor.
All right. And yeah, Officer Brown, Lieutenant Heitman, thanks again. Certainly, if you want to stick around and follow along the rest of the meeting, you're welcome to. Just figured, in case you got yourselves a busy morning, I want to make sure you could get this talk in. So thanks for joining us. I will go ahead and pull up, so I can get us to the right slide here, PowerPoint. So as just referenced about 30 seconds ago, got a few bike-related events around Fitchburg. I'm actually missing one on here, so I'll say that while it's fresh in my mind. That event that I think it was Steve mentioned, the Leopold Pump Track, is being dedicated with a community party today from 1 to 7 p.m. So I didn't get that included on here, but certainly go check that out. We got Pick Me Up at the Border. That's still a couple months away, but since we are in August now, we're not going to have another meeting before then. So this is the best time to remind everyone that that's the annual Bike Fitchburg ride. I believe there are several different distances, but the main ride is going all the way down to the Illinois border and back. So that's why it's an all-nighter, 6:30 to 5 a.m. September 23 to 24. I got the community night out that was just referenced. There is going to be a small bike rodeo, is my understanding, at that community night out. I've got 5 to 7 p.m. in here. Apparently that's incorrect, as Officer Brown said 5 to 8. So we'll go with 5 to 8 as the time for the community night out. A little bit more time to get all the festivities in there. And then I attended a little bit of the Festival of Speed. I was not able to get the booth for Boys and Girls Club. I don't know if anybody was there and wants to provide a recap, but it sounded like both of them were, once again, pretty successful.
Phil, I said earlier, we raised $750,000 and had about 650 participants, which is about the same as it was last year when COVID hit the year before and they didn't have it. We're going to meet Friday with Michael Johnson to determine how this gets situated in the future, how we encourage more people, because it's meeting the goals, but the participants are down. And so we're going to do some study on that. But it'll be, if it's going to happen again, it'll be the third Saturday in July. And I worked with our police colleagues to get things set up this year. So the event was a success overall. Anything else on this topic, Phil?
This is it from my end.
Okay. Any questions from the committee members?
Add something?
Oh, sorry.
So I'm in communication again with Dream Bikes and Wisconsin Bike Fed to plan a series of, bike rodeo / bike repair events in the fall. So I'll probably be meeting with them in late August, but it'll probably be a similar format where we'll pick a couple parks and just have, staff from both organizations and a couple volunteers available to fix bikes. So they've been pretty successful. To just keep that momentum going. Another thing I wanted to ask is, so we have the Luna's Groceries block party on August 20th, and typically Dream Bikes and Wisconsin Bike Fed have showed up to do bike repairs there, but they're not available. And I know that I'd mentioned it to Tony, and he was going to wrangle some folks up, but I just wanted to also put that out to the bike committee in case anybody would be willing to just set up shop and help people with bike repairs there. There's a bike stand right in front, so pretty much all you need is some tools, and I don't think we need as elaborate as a setup as they've done in the past, but just wanted to put that out to the group.
Joe, I was just going to say the new mechanics, or some new team, some existing over at Wheel and Sprocket, the former bike or Fitchburg cycles. They're coming to the community night out next week, and I'm pretty sure that with that much lead time, they can probably also make the event at Luna's. So Dan is the young fellow who's coming next week, but you could talk to Oliver over there too. And I would just put in a call and say that, I suggested that you give them a call, because they just said with a couple weeks notice, they'd be happy to do that at community events. So right. The other group was Wheels Winners. They were at the Allied Park event last week, and that went pretty well. Mike Grady, of course, from Bike Fitchburg, has been real active and took the course with Steve again for, rodeo, or I should say, safety training. And so we really have a lot of good assets around, and wonderful that you guys are doing that. So look forward to helping you if you have any questions about next year or just getting on our calendar. For us, 3 weeks is a lot of lead time, but 3 months or 6 months would be awesome. So thanks, Joe.
Sure.
Yes, Joe, I would echo that when you need help and volunteers, you've done this in the past, just let us know, as well as let Bike Fitchburg know, and we'll see what we can get to Marshall over there to help you.
Okay.
These are great events for our city, so I think it's good. Phil, any other update on projects?
Oh, Mark,
I'm sorry. We haven't gone to projects yet. You took me out of order.
I just wanted to mention that I'd noticed that there was on September 17th, there's an Oktoberfest ride. I believe this is the inaugural year for the event. It's a fundraiser for the Arthritis Foundation, and that's leaving from Funk's Pub in Fitchburg. I believe they've got 4 different course lengths.
And what is that set date again, Andy?
It is Saturday, September 17th.
Okay.
It's the 2022 Oktoberfest ride for arthritis.
Okay. Okay.
Not to be confused with the Oktoberfest out in Lake Mills. That's a huge ride too, and I don't know what weekend that is, but
I think that might be the same as Pick Me Up at the Border.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, that's the ride. You refer to the ride at Tyrania Brewery, is that right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But who drinks beer here? I've sworn it off until lunchtime.
Okay. Are there any other? I'll ask one more time. Are there any other update on projects impacting our bike network?
Or events.
Or events. I'm sorry. Now, Phil, we're going to move to
Sorry,
projects
Mark.
on the bike network. I'm sorry.
All right, you're really excited about this. So let's get right to it.
I know. 4C. We're on item 4C.
Item 4C, projects impacting the bike network. I'm not sure if our new transportation engineer, Kevin Dranowski, is in City Hall right now. He was kind of a question mark whether he'd be able to join us this morning. So hopefully I can answer any questions y'all have. but just a few updates on bike network impacting projects here. There's not much of an update here in Sain. We talked about this one a couple months ago. We do have bids received. We're still hoping to have work begin by mid-August on this road. This is being split into 2 phases, starting with the lower section of Sain Road, and then commencing phase 2 of this will be the McCoy-Sain intersection. We have, for the city has applied for grant funding to assist with this reconstruction along with a couple other projects. The policy board hasn't yet taken action, so we're unsure if we're going to be selected. My understanding, I think that our project scored pretty high, but it's just a question of how much funding is available and where we rank among all the submitted projects. Another one, this has been an item for well over a year now. We finally got a little bit of resolution here. These rectangular rapid flashing beacons that were posted on McKee Road where the Badger State Trail crossed McKee because of the Badger State Trail being diverted onto that new bridge over McKee. We've had these beacons available and just kind of sit in storage for a bit. So we finally do have this set of beacons placed on Seminole where the Cap City Trail crosses it. Long term, I do believe there's still a hope to get beacons where Cannonball crosses as well, but because it's more of a straightaway, a little bit more visible, and there's these safety islands that pedestrians and cyclists can use as they cross, this was our top priority. So we've got these beacons up, and I haven't been to the intersection since they were installed, but I believe they are working the way they should. So we finally got a little bit safer crossing situation there for bikes and pedestrians, which is exciting. Third one, this one I mentioned last meeting in June. The Madison Metro Sewerage District is looking at another project. This one is a force main rework detour. They had a few different options available for how they were going to exactly do this routing. This is what they chose for their force main. You'll notice this does cross the Military Ridge Trail. So both down here and then with their gravity interceptor up by Goose Lake. What this is going to mean is that once they actually do begin this construction, Military Ridge Trail will be closed down for some period of time. I don't know what that is yet. I don't believe they've decided on their construction timeline yet. Once that happens, I will make sure that that they're taking some input from Fitchburg on how exactly they want to do the detour. It seems like if both of these are taken out, the best bet might be going up through Community Park here, up to kind of cross country and Nesbitt, and then up to McKee or Fitchburg. But we'll just see when the timing is and what looks like the best options. So they've already had a preliminary meeting to give an overview of this on February 23. There's another meeting coming up here Wednesday, August 24th, 5:30 to 7:30. If you check out the MMSD website or click the registration link that's in the packet, that'll take you to a site to be able to register to attend this. They're doing some public input and comments. That would be a good opportunity to get more information and provide a little bit of feedback on this. And then the last item is there were just a few CIP projects. I'm not sure why I have, sorry. CIP projects that the council voted on last week. So there are 3 different rural cross sections where we're adding bike lanes into reconstruction projects. That's sections of Fisher Road, Irish Lane, and Wayland Road. And then also changing scope of the Seminole Highway and Lacey Road intersection reconstruction to include some bike paths. That's just east of the intersection along Seminole along Lacey Road, going towards Savannah Oaks Middle School, and then just north of Seminole, just north of Lacey along Seminole up to Sub-Zero Parkway. So I've got details in here on the cost of each of those, the specific locations for all of the projects, but the overview here pretty much covers it.
Phil, just for your information, Kevin is in the room.
Oh, he is.
So hey, Kevin, would you like to introduce yourself to the group and give us a little bit about your background?
Morning, everybody. I'm Kevin Drenaski. I started last Monday as transportation engineer at the city. I came over from tool design here in Madison. Previous experience mostly with WISDOT work, so I like to say I'm becoming a reformed highway engineer into more of a municipal engineer. So I live in the area just on the other side of Verona Road, technically in the city of Madison, but right where town of Verona meets Madison meets Fitchburg. So I certainly do use quite a bit of the city's bike facilities. So I like being invested in the work I'm doing, and I'm excited at the amount of bicycle-related projects the city does. So just happy to be here.
Well, we welcome you to our group, and I think the one request as a committee that we would have, as you begin planning these things, get us in the loop sooner rather than later. And I think that will let everything run much smoother. The city can address things, we can give our input, we can get our members and our riders in the city input. And Andrew, we were getting there with Andrew. He was doing he was doing a good job, but it's still sometimes things happen, and I'm glad Wayland Road is getting addressed. Angie, I hope that meets with your pleasure. You're muted.
Yeah, it meets with my pleasure. I'll admit I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay. We'll note that for the minutes.
I've been to many, many, many meetings where it was going to happen, and so yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic.
So
it is in the CIP. It's slated for 2024.
Cautiously optimistic.
Understood.
Kevin, Wayland Road is a long withstanding story we can talk about some other time, but the traffic's getting really bad out there too. So, and
Phil, I was going to actually throw this back to you real quick, since I live on Wayland, but Angie probably spends more time on it even than I do since she commutes that way. First of all, good work. I'm glad we're getting it done. I think the other one that came up, because you were just talking about Fitchrona in my mind, is the west end of Lacey Road and that work that's coming. Clearly, one of the other intersections that needs love is, I was through it twice this morning, is, Wayland Road at the Badger Trail at the end of Seminole. I worry a little bit, just especially during the morning rush hour, and maybe Angie can attest to this, but it seems like you get some cranky folks in there, and I don't know if it's because they feel like they're on their way to work and people on the bike trail couldn't possibly be doing anything important, but it's a little weird. Yeah, well, I mean, it's just one of those things where you're dealing with all the issues that folks have, and you gotta turn there. I mean, we heard a guy honking this morning, which just didn't make any sense at all, because somebody was slowing down, coming westbound on Wayland, turning right and going north on Seminole, which is a really regular traffic pattern in the morning. And the guy on the, wanting to go through on Wayland was losing his, what? And I couldn't believe it, because, there were bikers there were cars in all directions. And it's just like, I think that's a place that, at the very least needs the safety lights. So I think next priority needs to be that area. And I guess, okay, that's
Andy's
enough
got his
said.
hand up. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to follow up on that anyway. I know Andrew had been working on a priority list of where to put the RRFBs next. And I guess with him leaving, I just want to make sure that we don't lose that, because I think he had gone through and done kind of some preliminary engineering work and traffic counts just to figure out. And I thought he had a list of like a dozen locations and then had prioritized them. So I want to make sure we don't lose that in the transition.
Kevin, is Lacey coming in 2023? Because it was supposed to be this year and they postponed it.
It's planned for 2023, yes.
So could we next meet in October, I think. Could you come back to the next meeting and kind of go over this with us? And you have an open invitation to our meetings.
Yep. Yeah, I'll try to make it as much as I can, because a lot of my work is intertwined in the bike.
There's another one down on the end of Parcell Road and Badger State Trail that we can talk about later. We need an apron down there, which shouldn't cost much, but it's very tough to turn on there off Parcells.
I just wanted to make sure that was on that list. Thank you.
I had sent Andrew a list on that probably 6 months ago, so we can follow up on that later. But again, as you plan, just needs a apron. It doesn't even have to be concrete. It can be asphalt. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Anything you might have extra.
All right. Is there anything else for Andrew or Phil on projects?
Well, I just wanted to add one thing to Phil's update with the South Sain project, that we actually have the pre-con for that phase 1 next Tuesday at 9 a.m. So
Okay.
that'll be getting kicked off here shortly.
Well, anytime you need input for us, just please ask, because we'll certainly be willing to help, and as will Bike Fitchburg, so thank you. Okay, I'm going to keep us moving. I'm going to move us down to item 4E, update on bicycle league grants. Phil.
All right. Sorry, I'll just throw in really quickly. Kevin, sorry I didn't get a full agenda item in here to introduce everybody, but I can give just a really quick overview because you've seen a lot of names on the screen here. We got a pretty committed bike community here in Fitchburg with people that have been involved in a lot of stuff for a long time. As you've, I'm sure, gathered, Mark Hamilton is our chair. We've also got Angie Lucas, Andy Potts, and Miranda Beyer, members of our bike committee. Joe Imolkowski is another member who wasn't able to make it this morning. Steve Arnold and Tony Hartman are both avid, longtime cyclists in Fitchburg, and they're involved with Bike Fitchburg, which is our really active local advocacy organization. And then Joe Maldonado is the alder reporting to the committee, just kind of for a really quick who's who of who you're seeing all around here on the computer screen. For the next agenda item, bicycling related grants, there are two updates here. The one is less of an update. I think everybody's pretty familiar with where things are with the B-Cycle, the TAP grant that I applied for back in January. We were selected for the TAP grant. The big update here is that initially for the TAP grant to expand B-Cycle, so we're doing phase 1 B-Cycle implementation this fall. The TAP grant was to help fund phase 2 expansion. Initially, we were approved at about 74% reimbursement rate. It's kind of a wonky calculation depending on the size of the projects that you're implementing. However, the state DOT really was looking to obligate some funding this year. There was kind of a use it or lose it situation for them. And both Madison's B-Cycle expansion and our projects were, we were a little bit more able to expedite our projects faster than others. So we will still be looking to make our purchases next spring, but we're at least kind of signing on a dotted line and giving them preliminary invoices and obligating those funds this fall. What that means is that we're going to get our project, our phase 2 expansion, up to an 80% grant, 80% grant reimbursement, which is really exciting. That means that we're going to have about $320,000 coming from the state to help us with that phase 2 expansion of B-Cycle. So we're really excited about that. Just kind of, there's a lot of logistics going through specific site planning, and let me see if should I be sharing this one yet? No, that's next. Specific site planning and working with businesses and sponsors and making sure that we've got all the things ironed out from the planning department and zoning side of things. If there are any permitting details that need to be worked out and all that, getting inventory available for B-Cycle, things like that. But that's where we are with the B-Cycle grant. So that's just been kind of moving at a pace, not rapidly as we'd like, but definitely it is happening. The other one that I don't think I've mentioned for a while because we were kind of in limbo with it is last year. Wade kind of gave me a big assist as I was applying for a Dane County Parks grant, their park and ride program. The status last year was, hey, we really like your project. We are way over committed with projects this year, and you're obviously not about to break ground on your North Fish Hatchery Hub where you want to put the bike playground. So we're just going to push you off to 2022. And if we have the funding, then we'll put you at the top of the list. We'll just kind of take your same application from 21 and consider it. That just sort of went quiet for a bit. Turns out the bike playground was going to be more expensive than we had initially thought. And so we asked them, hey, could we just amend our application to be a little bit larger? We just heard in the last couple of weeks, I believe we're still waiting for the Dane County Board to formally approve this. So this is not yet official, it's preliminary, but it looks like we are going to get some funding from the county to help with the bike playground at the hub. Once that is formalized, and I've seen, there was supposed to be a vote last week on Tuesday, but I looked through their minutes and didn't see anything. So I'm just kind of waiting on anything more official and public until I know for sure that they have voted, but it looks like we're going to be funded partially for that bike playground through Dane County Parks, which which is also really exciting to be able to get that and kind of help move that project forward as well.
Okay, any other report on item E, Phil?
That's it for me.
Okay, just something to put in your back pocket. I think go back to the police department's report. If there are grants that are out there that the city could help apply to reinstitute the bike committee, that may be a way to use some of that money. And I certainly think, as I said, it will go a long way towards our gold agenda. So just a thought. Okay, we will move along then to the, did you give all your update on the B cycle, or do you have more to share, Phil? I'm on
Can
item
share
4.
just a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll do a quick screen share here just to kind of show the status of where we're at with site planning. I apologize for the map that was in the packet. There were some businesses mentioned, and there have been kind of some high-level talks we've had about where we want to put sites, and with some of the non-committed locations that we think, strategically this would be a good place to have a spot. There were some business names in there in the packet, and I don't want to commit anybody who hasn't yet signed anything or that we haven't locked down. So I've updated this map here. This isn't exactly the same as the one in the packet. It's a little bit more vague with some of those specifics, and I'll maybe try to republish that packet even after the meeting, just to make sure that I'm not committing anyone who shouldn't be committed to this yet. The 6 sites here in black are the sites that we're planning for phase 1. They're listed, the bold ones, in your key on the bottom left corner of this map. Everything in green is potential options for phase 2. We're likely not going to have 18 stations at this time next year. But what we're looking at is getting anywhere from 4 to 9 or 10 docks at each of these different sites. So for phase 1 at Hatchery Hill, we're probably going to have 9 docks here, kind of near the Wyndham Hotel and the Cap City Trail. So this will be a really good place for people to hop on a bike and get on these trails and access a lot of the great trail recreational riding that Fitchburg has to offer. Down here at McKee Farms Park, we're likely to have another 9 docks. The likely is because there's still a little bit of kind of trading between sites. If we decide we want to add a 7th one, then the number could fluctuate a bit. Down here at for the Fitchburg Chamber and Agora, we're going to have 6 to 10 docks placed. Another 9 here at the Limerick, and then I believe 9 also at Terra Bessa, and then somewhere here on McKee Road between Seminole Highway and the Badger State Trail. This is a spot that kind of a combination of seeded dollars, and we've had some sponsorship from MG&E, so kind of looking at the best place to put it around there. That's where we're going to start this fall for our phase 1 implementation. Initially, we were hoping for May, but just in terms of getting sponsorship agreements and then all of the inventory a little slow to come in, we got delayed. But this fall, we should be able to have our grand opening. I'm just really hoping it's not the day that my wife delivers, so that I'm able to be there if at all possible. But if not, we got a lot of people involved who will be able to help kick this off in a really exciting fashion. The 2 maroon locations here were potential phase 1 locations. I think we're probably not going to add those into phase 1. It was a point of discussion at one point, but those definitely are still under consideration for phase 2. There are other spots that will be considered as well. Just really depends on where sponsorships come in from and kind of what we think strategically and in terms of equity and coverage and accessibility makes the most sense for Fitchburg. So I just kind of wanted to give that sort of high level to know where things are and what we're looking at going forward.
So Phil, some of us on this committee as well as the chamber assisted getting some of the initial sponsorships from businesses around the city. Has Trek shared with you their plan or approach for helping with that next phase?
We have not talked as much about the next phase yet. There's a bit of kind of reshuffling of priorities, and because initially our plan for the phase 2 expansion was looking at more like a couple of years down the road. Let's make sure that we've got this phase one going for a year or so. Once we see what ridership looks like and have done a little bit of informal or maybe even formal polling of users, get a sense of where the next station should be. Because we're pushing the phase two expansion a little bit more aggressively to meet the DOT's goals for this funding, we are going to have to start moving a little bit faster on those phase two sponsors, but I haven't yet talked with Ellen at B-Cycle about that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any excuse me, questions about the B-Cycle implementation?
Got a question, Mark, about especially the phase two and the TAP grant. My understanding is, and Phil just mentioned equity, but LMI and what we call healthy neighborhoods are a priority for that. Are we doing anything besides putting bikes there? Will there be any kind of a program for folks that, maybe don't have a credit card or, can get an account, but don't have the means to pay full freight? Will there be any, opportunities for folks to get scholarships or discounts, especially people that might be able to use the bikes for commuting in some way?
So that is the hope. I guess, Mark, maybe you'll have more to add to this. In the discussions that I've had with B-Cycle, I've made it really clear, I think we all have made it really clear that equity is a big deal for us, and that, exactly as you're saying, Tony, we don't just want to put bikes down and say, all right, have at it. We do want there to be some way for monthly annual passes to be more affordable. Because we've been so focused on just getting this plan put together where the docks are going to be, we haven't talked as much about the financing. I would imagine that we'd be looking at sponsors to provide funding specifically for some of those kinds of subsidized passes, but I'm not sure right now what the plan is. So we still have to work through that, as far as I know.
Phil and Tony, it's on Trek's agenda. For example, if you look at the two pink ones, one of those is the new McKinsey Training Center on the right side of the east side of Verona Road. And they're going to be under construction till the end of 23. And that's one of the items that we identified is subsidizing things over there. Madison subsidizes kids to ride to the libraries. And Trek had already said they're willing to work with us on something like that. So it's out there, but it's not formally developed. I think we have to get the money first to put the stations down. But it is, they're aware of our thought process. And I think, as Tony said earlier, maybe it was Phil, we have 2 members of B-Cycle who live in our community. And they are heavily engaged with us on this project. So yes, the TAP grant was to deal with access and inclusion, the sites, and I think we're looking at those. So there's a lot more to come to this, but at least we've got an order placed for phase 1, and we're going to have them in the city. Okay, any other questions about the B-Cycle program? Okay, Phil, thank you very much. Item number 9, trail etiquette. I'm just going to give you a quick update. Phil, can you go to the sign that I sent you a picture of that's in our packet?
Yep, will do.
Please. I brought this up in June, and then I also brought it up at the Bike Fitchburg meeting a couple of weeks ago. As we've got more people out on our trails, and I think as we had COVID, there's people riding more B-cycles, there's people out there walking with earbuds in. Etiquette on the trails has really deteriorated in my mind, and I ride these trails at least three times a week around Fitchburg and around downtown. And I saw this a couple of weeks, actually I saw it about a week ago, and then I took a picture of it last Monday, week ago Monday. This is a sign that Madison has put out. There's 5 or 6 of them around the area, and then Steve Arnold found one over, I think Steve, is it by the Cannonball Path? Yeah, he's shaking his head, yes. There's another one by the Cannonball Path that's in Spanish. There it is, yeah. That I would like to see us put some of these around Fitchburg, because I will tell you from riding the paths yesterday, I had more people say on your left than I've ever had before. So I think people are seeing these signs, and because I'm riding slower, I'm getting past, but that's not the important part. This is a good thing. It's a safety thing, and one of our committee objectives is safety. And if we can just get people to pay attention, I think we're going to have an improvement. So we're looking into the cost of these signs. We may see if you can use some of your grant money, Phil, or that we'll ask the city with Joe's support to buy a couple of these signs and place around the bike path in the city. Does anybody else have any comments about this?
Yep. Mark?
Yes, Andy.
Yeah, I've noticed the yellow signs as well. I think they went up probably about 3 weeks ago, and there are a lot of them out there. I guess one thing is we'll have to decide on kind of a style that we like. Personally, I like the information that's included on the sign that Steve had. But having seen that sign, I know exactly where it is. It's pretty hard to read. Whereas the yellow sign is very eye-catching, but also doesn't convey nearly as much information. So I'm just wondering if maybe we can work with Madison Sign Department to see if we can do some sort of hybrid approach to that.
I think that's a valid point. That one it's up now is hard to read. The yellow one certainly catches your eye from that perspective. And I like the fact it's also in Spanish. And maybe we find a hybrid that we get a couple signs in Spanish along there and others in English. But we've asked the city what they're made by the Madison Street Signs Department. We've asked the city what is the cost and could we purchase some. Again, I think it works to connect and tie our network, and I think it helps with safety. It's an awareness factor. So more to come on this one. I don't want any action. I just wanted to see. I told you I'd try and get some more information on it, and we did. So thanks to Steve for helping on this one too. So more to come as we go forward. Okay, we are a little bit ahead of schedule. The next item on the committee is report to Bike Friendly Gold team. As this committee knows, and Kevin will be happy to give you an update down the road about what gold means to the city. And right now we're ranked silver as a bike community, and we're trying to go for gold. We've got a committee that is organized. The Bike League changed their application rules in the last couple of months and just put it out online. The new focus is an increased emphasis on equity, diversity, and inclusion. We had a conference call with them, and we've got the application that Phil and Steve and I have access to begin to put things in. We've set a timetable. The timetable to submit is February 15th. So I have pushed the group to kind of have a document ready to go by January 15th. You heard Phil say he may not be around for part of this, and I'll let him give that when he gives his report. But we've got a subcommittee right now of Joe, Tony Hartman, Steve Arnold, Andy Potts, myself, Phil, and who am I missing? I might be missing somebody.
Angela Kinderman.
Yes, and Angela Kinderman from the chamber. We're going to need to expand this committee as I look at it, and as we talk to the Bike League. I've got some other ideas I'll be getting to this group in the next couple of weeks, and I want to take, we agreed as a committee we'd kind of start in earnest in September. We wanted to get through the summer season and vacations, but it's going to take a lot and a large effort to get this up and get it through. A lot of new things that we can share, and again, everything we talked about today, I think helps our focus on cycling as we go forward. So there'll be more to come on this. We're going to expand our group. I've got an idea that maybe we even have a Zoom meeting or a meeting in this chamber room and just talk about the gold journey and what we need from folks, and whether it be statements or whether it be things they're doing. We're getting the bike rodeos going that we didn't have a lot of a few years ago. We've got 2 trained leaders in this town now, and Mike and Steve, who can teach these classes. We've got Joe doing a number of events around the community. We've got the police involved. But at the same point in time, I want to be certain we link into all 3 of our schools. We've got Oregon, Verona, and Madison. And we're going to have to work on that. I see that as one of our weak points. I know, Andy Potts, you've shared some things about seniors, doing things with seniors. and other types of bicycles. So all of these things are going to come together. We're going to have to put it in a cohesive document that tells the Bike League we are gold worthy, so to speak, and we'll go forward. So any of you that have been working on this, you want to add anything? I'll just kind of open it up. Steve's hands up. Go ahead, Steve.
As many of you know, there are 5 E's. They had 6 for a while. Now equity is a official E, and they've removed enforcement because, unfortunately, in some cities there's a bicycle equivalent to stop and frisk, and so they wanted to de-emphasize enforcement as an entity, and many of the valuable things that were in the enforcement section have been redistributed to other E's. So I think I'm feeling more and more confident that we're going to get gold, and I just wanted to quickly report on some of these things. So in the encouragement area, we have 9 new applicants for bicycle-friendly business. That's as many as any in the country. Arkansas has 9, and Minnesota has 8. California has 6. And these are generally part of coordinated efforts. And so that alone gets attention in Washington, D.C. at the Bike League. But the Greenway system, the events we're doing, the helmet giveaways are all important parts of encouragement. Mark mentioned we have 2 new leagues, cycling instructors. We've been doing rodeos, and Mike Grady and the Senior Center and I are planning a smart cycling class at the Senior Center in September. In engineering, we have many new facilities, lanes and trails. You may have noticed the new path in conjunction with the Crescent Crossing subdivision along Lacey Road. That path is being extended, and the hub facilities. So those are all engineering things. In evaluation and planning, I do not think that this group has heard that we won a national grant from the Bike League to study our bike counts. There were 2 awards given nationally, one to a bicycle-friendly community government and one to a bicycle advocacy group. And they gave the national award to bicycle advocacy groups to Bike Fitchburg and Madison Bikes jointly. And so we're working with the 2 cities and EcoCounter to analyze our bike counts, and that effort kicked off last week. And as Mark knows well, one of the key things that they want to see in a gold community is that your interventions like encouragement and engineering are starting to move the needle for bike counts and mode share. So the way to do that is with count data, and so that's a new effort for us. And again, since the Bike League is directly involved, they know we're doing it. We have so that's in the evaluation and planning area, along with our planning for the Greenway system. And then in the equity area, we have been focusing all our interventions on our Healthy Neighborhood Initiative areas. And I think that will set us up very well for the equity E. So I think that we should keep working, but I think that this time we're going to bear fruit after 2 cycles at Silver.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. And again, more to come on this. I do know that our Alder Maldonado supports us here on this. I know the mayor and Chad Brecklin are supportive of it, and so we will persevere and do what we can, and the chamber's behind it, sorry. So we've got a lot of folks on this. We'll take a cast of a lot of people to get this done, so thank you. And if you've got any suggestions or ideas, please let us know. As I said, we're going to come together in earnest starting in September. So I'm optimistic like Steve. I think when I first heard the conference call, I kind of was discouraged that we fixed fix is the wrong word. We addressed all the deficiencies from 2019, but they added all these new ones. So we're trying to work this way, and I think we'll be good. We got some more reaching out to do to the other communities around us too about linking networks. So more to come. Any questions about Gold Journey? Okay. Next, I will move to our illustrious council member, Maldonado. Your update. You've given us a couple of things. Anything else to add to us?
No, other than what I brought up earlier.
Okay.
I have no updates.
Well, Joe, we appreciate your support and enthusiasm with us, and we'll look to you as we move towards the Gold Journey. And I think we'll also look to you to come back and help support the police initiative as that moves forward too. So I think that's a great idea as well. So, okay. Phil, you're up next.
All right, just a couple
5C.
things. Sorry?
5C. We're on 5C.
5C. A couple things here. One is I've got data collected from our traffic counters through June 9th. I put that in the packet. I can go ahead and pull it up here as well. Let's see. Do one more screen share. So we've got some good numbers here from our counts. Let's see. I think Officer Brown and Kevin are not as familiar with this. So we got 7 infrared trail counters last fall that we placed around. Joran with our Parks Department placed these around several different trails in Fitchburg, just to kind of try to get a little bit better data to support our bike-friendly community applications, and also just get a good sense of where people are riding and kind of help support infrastructure decisions as well if we have a really good quantitative assessment of the kind of volume that we get on these trails. So what we're getting right now is during the warmer months, average number of passersby per day in the hundreds, which is really nice to see. Now, of course, a few of these, Cannonball, Military Ridge, Badger State Trail, these 3 are all around the bike roundabout, so you're probably getting a little bit of double counting in here, but still really strong figures. And even when you look at like the Cap City Trail overpass right by Fish Hatchery Road, this floating one is currently placed in Key Farms Park. Still really good numbers on these other spots as well. Now, these are infrared counters. They are transportation mode ambivalent. So you might be getting some people in here walking, running. It's also the case that because it's an infrared beam, if 2 riders are going through side by side, it's probably only going to count one of them. So a little bit of give and take there. But yeah, we don't yet have a full year of data on this. I'll collect once more this summer, and we'll have a little bit of additional data from July and August to throw in as well. But just really good numbers on that. It's nice to see. I have not been able to get updated numbers from the county on their. This was kind of inspired by the county placing one of these traffics infrared counters on the Cap City Trail right by the roundabout. Haven't got an update from them since before the pandemic. So it kind of seems like whoever was collecting data for them has not been doing so actively. And these counters do run out of batteries at some point. So I'm a little worried that we might be losing a lot of data from that one. But again, it would at least somewhat be covered by the fact that we've got our own 3 counters by the roundabout. So that data continues coming in. Really fun one was when I collected the June data and opened up the one on the Cannonball path right by the roundabout. Just a whole ant nest came pouring out on my hands. Really, really exciting business. So I'll be bringing a squirt gun next time. The other one is that Wheel and Sprocket is officially open in Fitchburg.
Phil?
Yes.
I wanted to have a couple quick comments on the counters. One, I agree with you. These are great numbers, and just looking at the average, it's most of these are up over 200 per day, and that's really not including most of the warmer months. Most of the data is coming from January, February.
And just over a week in June, so it's not even the full month of June yet.
And I mean, I think if you were just to take that first week of June, like just looking at Cannonball, you're averaging well over 400 per day.
Right.
Which, and then I guess just kind of contrast that with what the league data would suggest is that there's about 200 bikers per day in Fitchburg total, just based on their percentage of ridership times our population. So I think we're really showing that that's not the case here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it makes a couple good cases. I mean, the bike roundabout, the Cap City Trail, these are a little bit more regional trails, and so absolutely we're getting some pass-through ridership. But that also speaks to the strength of Fitchburg as a cycling community, that so many people are using our trails from other places. We really are connected to the entire region. But yeah, when one of these sites is getting 400 in a day, you know, and as we know, as we've talked about, the data that the Bike League was focused on was based on the, you know, every few years American Community Survey that ACS does, just self-reported ridership for, essentially there is one question: how do you commute to work? And if people said primarily bike, they were counted as cyclists, and we got 0.75%. Well, when 6 months of the winter, the trails aren't really that bikeable unless you are truly committed and you've got good studded tires, you've got good cold weather gear for it, and a lot of casual riders don't. You're not going to report that you're a bike commuter, so you don't get, you know, you might ride recreationally a lot, you might do visiting different destinations or short shopping trips, things like that. You're not going to get counted in there. So that's why we're really excited to get these counters out, is to supplement their data and show that there's a lot more than just commuting to work, especially in a suburban setting like we've got in Fitchburg. You know, commuting and only commuting is not really the way to capture how often people are out on their bikes.
Yeah, the other consideration is that it was a cold spring. And so some of our numbers it'll be interesting to see, you know.
Phil, a word of caution, particularly as you move away for your leave. We need to ensure the batteries are good in these things, because we're going to need a year's worth of data, as Andy says, as we submit our gold application. And I don't want us to lose anything because the battery went down. So if you need some assistance on tracking this, please let the committee members know or the city folks know, so that it doesn't get lost, because I don't know how long these batteries last. And again, Wisconsin's batteries lasting versus Oklahoma, I mean, I don't know if they last longer down south or not, but whatever. We don't want the batteries to run down so we lose data. So please make that plan.
So the good news on that, at least, so this is, because we're getting closer to me taking leave, I can kind of give a general sense. It all, of course, depends on when day one is, and that's always an unknown. But I'm going to be taken off for 4 weeks, and then I'll be back for 8 before I take another 8 weeks off. So that at least it breaks up my leave a bit, so that I'll have 8 weeks in the middle there, and I'll be able to, you know, get back into some of the, you know, prepping to reapply for bike friendly status next year, work on the sustainability plan, and going out on the trails and collecting some data. So this winter, I think I left them for 3 or 4 months at one point, because I just didn't want to go out in 10-degree weather, you know, for an hour and a half and collect these, and they made it just fine. They do give me, one of the nice things is that these counters will give an alert when the battery's getting low. You don't just suddenly go out one day and realize it's dead. So hopefully between, you know, only being gone for 8 weeks is my longer stretch, and also that fact I hopefully won't lose anything, but certainly I'll think about whether it makes sense to enlist somebody else to help collect this data. One of the tricky wrinkles with that is that once you collect the data on this little portable dock, you then have to connect that dock to a computer to actually download it, get into the system, and that software for downloading is on my computer. So we could have somebody collect the data on that dock, but still then it's going to need to get to me somehow. So it would be nice to have a second person able to do that, but just kind of figuring out that situation and how that would work best is,
again, that's your decision.
Hasn't been my top priority as I'm handing things off.
It's your decision. If I can help you, just let me know, because I don't mind going out and collecting that stuff. I got to find out where they all are, but
right.
Anyway, so this is a great thing, and I think that Steve mentioned this grant with Madison and the Bicycle League. There'll be some joint things going on there, and making sure we have up-to-date data as that project goes forward. So at any rate, let's just keep up the good work on that. So keep going.
Second one, Wheel and Sprockets Open. I unfortunately wasn't able to make it to the grand opening last Wednesday. I would imagine, I think I heard at least one or two of you were there, but this was Fitchburg Cycles. They merged with, were purchased by Wheel and Sprocket, which also has a location up in Middleton on University. So that's just kind of a little exciting kind of refresher and news for a local cycling business. So if you haven't been there, definitely go check it out. I don't know if there's anything notable from the grand opening that is worth sharing.
Phil, I just say, I know several of us were there. I would say that Trek was there in force. Obviously, they had the Trek 100 last weekend. They had people from Colorado, reps from all over the country. So, yeah, and I think certainly a lot of the family members were there. It's, you know, that this is their Wheel and Sprocket's 12th store, but they really, you know, pulled out all the stops, and they have about double the inventory. Obviously, Edwin's still around for people that miss him. I think he'll be manager of the store at least for a couple of years under the contract. So we get the best of both worlds in a way, and a lot of inventory, which is important right now. It's been tricky to find, and I know more mechanics and probably faster turnaround. So hopefully that all goes well.
Awesome, thanks. And then just the last little thing is, I mentioned this in June as well. Probably Mark will want to put this on our October agenda. At the end of October, I think is the timeline, is when the town of Fitchburg is getting different portions absorbed into the city of Madison and city of Fitchburg. So with us getting some of that town of Madison, especially over by the Southdale area off of Rimrock, that's just something that we're going to need to I'm going to want to talk with Kevin and with Bill Balke a little bit about this, and maybe with Chad as well. And it would just be good for us to think about maybe a discussion about how the bike network is currently set up in those areas that we're absorbing, and if there's anything else that that the bike committee should be thinking about in terms of recommendations to the city. It may just be that becomes another area that kind of falls under the broad umbrella of make sure that we're considering bike infrastructure with every new project. But I think it would just be good to think about whether there's anything that should be moved to the fore with that expansion of Fitchburg. That's all I've got for staff update.
And Phil, would you again clarify?
I was just going to ask real quick.
Ahead,
I had a question for Phil before he goes, or actually thinking into next year after you're already a veteran new dad. You know, the excellent point about that neighborhood, which half the people in Dane County don't even know exists, but the Southdale neighborhood, and we have a wonderful, completely unused paved path leading north out of Terra Vesa that just ends. Most of you know what I'm talking about, on the east side of the road. Could connect easily down the hill to the Cap City Trail. Obviously, you can do it on the east side of Terra Vesa, but I think that needs to go north from the Cap City Trail on up somewhere along, you know, connecting to Rimrock. And I don't know that that's ever been on anyone's agenda. I know Steve and I are going to report on Bike Fitchburg here in just a minute, but that seems to me an excellent point about connectivity. We definitely need to have that on our radar.
And I would echo that.
We'll be looking at that. We'll be looking at the west side of MM as that comes down from Rimrock towards McCoy Road and the new McCoy and MM intersection. You know, we'll have to consider things like going across Nine Springs Creek and that kind of Nine Springs E-Way, and what sort of development is planned for the east and west sides of MM. So definitely something that we'll want to discuss. I don't know if there are long-term plans yet, but we'll be looking at it for sure and make sure that's all connected.
So connecting that network, Tony and Phil, is on our list for moving forward, because it's not good riding into that town of Madison along Rimrock. The road's not that good. It's very narrow and very busy. But I'm going to add one more I was going to talk to Kevin about down the road. There's a lot of trails now out in Uptown that I went out and rode last week around Shine, around up till you get towards 14. There's about 4 to 5 miles of paved trails out there that kind of connect. We may be able to add to our network without putting a bunch of money into it in the future. And I think that would be something the Bike League would like to see. We're expanding our network. So that's on my list to follow up on in the future. But I just went out there and rode around last week. And like I said, there's with all the apartments and all the development starting to go out there, that might be something good for us too. So Kevin, we're going to have a lot of work for you. Phil, anything else? If you could just clarify your dates being out to be a new dad? Your plan?
I can't clarify the dates. As I said, we'll see. The due date is August 20, and we'll see when it begins from there. So I'll be out essentially mid-August to mid-September, and then the bulk of November and December.
Okay. Well, please let us know when the day occurs, and welcome to pending fatherhood. So it's a lot of fun.
So yeah, the huge Christmas blowout party that I haven't posted yet. Still not going to start it this year for everybody. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Last but not least, we have 5 minutes left for a Bike Fitchburg update. Steve and Tony are both here, so I will let you two folks decide how you're going to give the update to our group. Take it away.
Thanks. I'm just throwing up a recent agenda quickly. I'll let Steve address this since he was the interim secretary this month, and he's always been our treasurer, and he's got a lot of time invested. But we typically, talk about some of the same things you do. We do have some funding that we have been responsible for, and I'll let Steve speak to that because there are some small grants available. We almost always talk about our Pick Me Up at the Border ride and how we can make that more family friendly and get more volume of riders, because it is a fun event with a fun history. It's not a race. I don't need to say any more about that, but we're also looking at ways to bring more people into the fold, aside from a very active board, and some of you actually do double duty on that. I will mention the work that has been going on. Steve's been active with the parking census update, some of the loose ends that might be involved in the Going for Gold effort. But of course, our biggie is safety and kids' safety. And on that note, both Mike Grady and Steve, for the second time, I think, attended the LCI seminar and are now official trainers and coaches in that area. So we have been invited to do either full rodeos or mini rodeos, but think kids safety. We've had a good time with those. I did one last week with Mike over at Allied Drive. And as you heard earlier, we have one tonight up in the Leopold Park area. Can always use more volunteers at those. And then, of course, the National Night Out next week, which is always at least has been a good time previously. So I think that's about it. I would also just add that, the senior center program could include a pedicab that would take disabled or seniors out. I think Dane County or City of Madison owns one, and maybe Verona does too. Kay Lum and a few others from our board have volunteered to do that on a semi-regular basis. It's very popular in other parts of the state. And with that, I'll turn it over to Steve, because he may be able to comment directly on that, and then a few of these other items.
Yeah, thank you. I made most of my report back up under gold. Before addressing the agenda, I just wanted to mention one thing that's at the intersection of the Town of Madison attachment and the Wheel and Sprocket is that the Kegel family has a foundation, and they try to engage very deeply into the communities they serve. And as their Welcome to Fitchburg present, they are donating a bicycle repair stand. And Scott Endel and I have scouted out a spot for it at the in Southdale Park in the current Town of Madison. We've got permission from the Town of Madison to go ahead and install it, even though it won't be part of Fitchburg until November 1st. And the repair stand is supposed to arrive on the truck from Milwaukee to the Fitchburg Wheel and Sprocket this week. So we are waiting for the city's concrete contract to be executed this summer, and then we'll be able to install the 9th public repair stand in Fitchburg. I was reminded by the agenda that we do have a private fundraising project for a memorial for a friend of mine who died this spring that will result in a new bicycle wayside with a bench and a public repair stand and pump on the Cap City Trail in between the Cannonball Connector and the Leopold Underpass. So that's another project that Bike Fitchburg's the financial agent for. So did you have anything else in mind, Tony?
No, Steve, I think that about hits it, and it's 9 o'clock. So appreciate you guys giving us some time for an update, and feel free to pick up the phone for anything at any time or shoot us an email.
Well, thank you, Tony and Steve, again. I think it is very important that these two groups link together, and I think we're doing a much better job than we were a couple years ago as a committee and linking with Bike Fitchburg. So we'll continue to do so and go down this path together. I don't have any other thing on the agenda. I will entertain a motion to
Mark?
adjourn. Oh, go ahead.
I wanted a quick follow-up since Tony mentioned it, that
okay.
I did have a chance to also meet with the senior center and talk to Jill, and we are going to work out trying to borrow some of those cycling without age tricycles to see if we can do a pilot at some point. Ideally still this fall, but we'll keep you in the loop
Okay.
as we move forward with that.
Okay.
I'd be happy to be part of something like that.
Are you going to be riding or pedaling?
Oh, thanks so much. Actually, Tony, I'll get to see a wheel and sprocket in action on the ride across Wisconsin in 18 days.
Yes, no, you're a pretty tough cyclist. That's why I had to tease you. Plus, my three sisters aren't here in town, so I have nobody to tease. Hey,
good luck on the ride.
I will also say one last plea please sign up for Pick Me Up at the Border. It is the 23rd of September. It starts at 7 o'clock, and it'll leave from, the Hop House / race day events. Always a lot of fun, so please go online, and Steve can probably give you or we can send out the link so people can go there directly.
bikefitchburg.org/events and follow the link.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. If there's nothing else, Steve has his hand up. Yes.
Yeah, just the Bike Fed owns one of the Trishaws, 50%, and that one is in the Madison area, and it's in the shop. And we are trying to get it repaired and out of the shop so that we can use it at the Fitchburg Senior Center. They're called Trishaws, and the program is Cycling Without Age, as Andy mentioned.
Okay, thank you. Some more to come on that. Again, that kind of came through our goal journey, but thank you very much. So, folks, again, as I get ready to call this meeting, first of all, Phil, good luck on your August 20th. I think that's what you said. Good luck on that. Thank you for all your support this year. I think we're making great progress. Welcome to our new folks, and we'll continue to move forward. Our next committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, October 4th, at 7:30. And we'll do it, I'm assuming, via both Zoom and in person, whatever your choice and whatever you feel comfortable with. So with that in mind, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. And I see Angie has her hand up. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, thank you. Have a great day, guys. It looks like it's nice and sunny. Go out for a ride.